I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The minutes from the June 12th meeting were sent out. Is there any additions, corrections, deletions that need to be done?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
Bobby Simpson makes a motion to accept the minutes as provided. Do we have a second? For you off-site folks, if you want to second something, just raise your hand so that we'll make sure we capture you on that. Do we have a second?
I will second.
About 4 words.
Seconded by Bruce Wright. Instead of asking for affirmatives, I'm just going to ask if anybody's opposed. So if anybody's opposed here in Watertown, state it, or off-site, raise your hand for oppositions. Hearing none, so moved. Treasurer's report, Bobby Simpson.
So everyone has a copy of the treasurer's report. I don't have my little glasses, so can't really see it. No.
Here.
Checking balance $15,556.27. What's the next one? Savings account is $32,666.90. And we have a total of $48,223.17.
Any questions on the treasurer's report? Can I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion, we accept it.
Motion made by Paul. Do we have a second? Geez, nobody wants to talk tonight. This is going to be a long meeting for things to get. Matt Yelton. Seconds it. Any opposed? Hearing none, so carried. Next is the enforcement list. So the first is a gentleman from Brooklyn. Surrendered his license for part 800.16A8, responded under the influence. The next is a gentleman from Star Lake, part 800.15A1, state approved training curricula, A2, state approved protocols, 816A1, failure to comply with 800.15, and negligent in their duties and abandoned a patient. So they got a 3-year penalty or 3-year probation and a civil penalty of $2,000. Next is a person from Shirley, 800.16A5, convicted of 1 or more criminal offenses, and their license was revoked. The next one is from Hopewell Junction, 800.3, negligence, failure to perform, incompetence, abandonment, comply with pre-hospital practice standards, and failure to comply with accurate PCR data. And they were suspended for 1 year. Next is from Selden, 800.16A6, found guilty of regulatory violation and their license was revoked. Next is College Point Community Ambulance Corps. In College Point, they discontinued operations for a period in excess of 1 month and they surrendered their CON. Next is a gentleman from Syracuse, 800.16A13, held himself as being certified at a higher level than actually certified, issued a formal reprimand, placed on probation for 3 years, and assessed a civil penalty of $2,000. Next is a gentleman from the Bronx, 800.16A2, negligence in performance and duties. He was censored and is paying a civil penalty of $1,000. The next one is a gentleman from Spencerport, 800.16A1, failed to comply with requirements, 800.15.2, negligence in performance, 3, incompetence performance, and 9, falsified patient records. Given a 3-year probation, comply with agency performance improvements plan, and all his charts for 23, 24, and 25 have to be sent to the state for review. Next is a person from Albany, 800.16A5 convicted of a criminal offense and they surrendered. That is the enforcement list as I know it. Any other correspondence? Okay, committee reports. Auditing, so we continue to look at every month the reconciliations that are being performed and accounting for all the checks and everything is in order there. Karen, bylaw.
We haven't met since last meeting.
Okay. CONs, I have been forwarded no CONs, so we have nothing outstanding there. Is Rich Hughes from Port Drummond up there?
No.
So,
I got a last minute email from him, I just haven't had a chance to check my email.
okay, so he's not in attendance, so we do not have a Fort Drum report. Chris Singleton, legislation.
All right, we've been busy. Last few weeks, we held meetings with Senator Mark Walczyk, Assemblyman Scott Gray, and representative from Congresswoman Claudia Tenney's office. We've been sharing some of the information with folks that we've met with. The EMS salary survey, there is from the REMSCO Legislative Subcommittee, there's 3 bullet points. One is to more accurately define the role of EMS. It really takes all the things that we're doing and have been doing for the last, 50 or so years and changes the law that would now allow us to do them, things like standbys and interfacility transports and things like that. The second one is encourage treat in place and transport to alternate destinations. And number 3 is probably going to be a little harder to pass. Responsibility and accountability for assuring an appropriate EMS response. This would mandate this would make EMS an essential service, but it would also require every town, village, county, city, state to pay for this, either independently or collectively. So those are the 3 items that we've passed around. There's also in the legislature, in the Senate and the Assembly have identical bills that pretty much say the same thing. It changes our definition and also requires someone to provide funding for that service. I've got phone calls into Assemblyman Ken Blankenbush's office, William Barclay. Haven't heard back from them, and Elise Stefanik, Chuck Schumer, and Kristen Gillibrand. I got a really nice letter from Senator Gillibrand, and if it has to do with immigration, to call a number. Other than that, she'll get back to me. So I can't think of anything else. Unless somebody has any questions.
Any questions on legislation?
We need help.
Karen, membership.
We did get 2 membership applications. I wasn't able to bring the membership committee together to interview those 2 applicants. We will be meeting hopefully in the near future, and I will report back at the next meeting.
They're from St. Lawrence County, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Good. Nominating, there is nothing on the nominating at this time. Pierre, Bob McKenzie.
Nothing to report. We haven't met since the last.
For those up in St. Lawrence County, that's a plane landing on the roof of the public safety building there at Lewis County that you hear.
That's why we're all losing our hearing here.
Should report that to somebody.
Program agency.
All right, I'm gonna talk fast. I know the date's wrong on the cover sheet. I didn't get to do that today. I was flying solo in the office because Amanda's sick and Jess is teaching tonight, so. Upstate Quality Stroke Group, so this Fast CD education out, we are continuing to encourage agencies to apply for this. There is still a sizable amount of funding available for this. Agencies that complete it will get $229, but I have to figure out with the committee how to spend a lot of money because we're not rolling it over again. So stay tuned and you'll get more information on it. Medical director change, so this was changed or approved at the REMAC, and I'm gonna say his name wrong. Vedron, thanks. So this just needs to be approved by the REMSCO.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't, never mind. Going on. Level of care changes, Norfolk Rescue downgraded to AEMT.
Doesn't need to be voted in here.
Okay, pad, so updated pad, SUNY Canton has new AD, so they updated their pad. Air brake in Watertown for cell construction, a whole slew of car dealers. And aeronautics place in Messina, and Laval Academy now has an AD. BLS iGel demo project, so these are the ones that I have seen in my office. If I'm missing anyone, please tell me. Judging by Matt's face, I think I forgot Constableville on it. I asked this morning and nobody in, I'm sorry. Regional BLS adjuncts, so Cranberry Lake was approved for BLS 12 lead by the REMAC. EPCR Messina Volunteer Fire Department is in the process. They just got their BLS FR. So they're working through the process of getting into the health commerce system and getting their EPCR platform up and running. They're going with the state's free platform. The agencies listed below that are those who are not enrolled in the CME program and are still on paper documentation. EPCR data integrity, so NEMSIS 3.5 will go into effect on January 1st, or well, January of 24. EPCR vendors will then have till June 30th of 24 to transition to the new platform or to the new NEMSIS mark. The initial schematron that the state will send up will be hopefully tentatively just the NEMSIS required information with limited additional supplemental information required by the state. This is an attempt to kind of move the pendulum back to a more central area where we're not spending so much time on documentation and what we get for data is actually quantifiable and has value, where right now it doesn't. It'll also provide a more uniform way of EPCR vendors to document, and there will be education that comes out with it, provided the state gives us a data dictionary to make that education. We are still continuing to have issues with ESO, but we have found a work through sort of. So the state and regional bridges have reduced the schematron rules for ESO to allow their data to flow through. There was a minor hiccup with the regional stuff is they did all the past charts, but nothing moving forward. I think we've got that fixed because I'm seeing data again. But this has led to a more serious discussion with the state to put regulation on documentation so that they can actually enforce non-compliance. What stinks though is the way that the state is discussing this is that enforcement will go back onto the agencies because it'll be your responsibility, or it should be your responsibility as an agency to pick a software vendor who is compliant and staying compliant. If they're not, then don't do business with them. So whether that's how it goes through in its final form is yet to be seen. Upcoming training, so we are working with Fort Drum EMS or Fort Drum Mystic for Fort Drum EMS Day with a target date of either December 2nd or December 16th. We're looking at doing cold weather trauma and advanced difficult airways with their simulation lab. We are requesting, provided I can't sweet talk my friends at Mercy Flight and LifeNet, to maybe do some snacks for us for that day. But we are requesting the REMSCO, if we could have $250 for just snacks and drinks. It'll only be a partial day session for 5 hours tops. So it's not like we're gonna need to feed them. Okay. Matt, I'm still gonna call you and beg. And then Spring Fling 24, the call for speakers has been extended. If anyone here has any wonderful topics that they'd like to talk to a group of people about and educate, please get in touch with either Debbie or myself and we'll get the information out to you.
I got the contract from Edgewood for Spring Fling for next year and wanted to go over this with you. So in the past, we pay $3 a person for the coffee and tea in the morning, and they're increasing that to $4 a person. The lunch buffet is going from 20 to 22, and that's hamburgers, hot dogs, potato salad, macaroni salad, garden salad, rolls, coffee, and then we take our drinks over for them to use for that. And the afternoon break with a coffee, we were paying $2, and now it's going to $4 for the afternoon break. That dinner that we do that Friday night, where we give everybody 2 drink coupons, and we do the chicken parm, and that is going from $35 to $40. The same with coffee the next day, it's going from 3 to 4. The Taco Thursday, they're able to keep it to 25 because we cover that cost. So those are the changes to that. And again, coffee for Saturday would be from $3 to $4 a person. So I think we've anticipated this. We know the price of stuff has gone up. Does anybody have, I am going to negotiate with her because she did raise the rates of the hotel rooms. So the waterfront was $139 last year. She's got it at $169. The Waterview room, she kept it $139. The Harborview room, she raised to $149. The cottages, she raised to $139. And the suites, which is above where Jonathan and I and everybody stays, so we're close by, she raised from $159 to $139. So my hope is to get her to keep everything at the $139 rate if we agree to all the other increases, that she could hold that at that $139 rate for us. I think it's important we try to keep our rates where we can and do what we can, because, Mark, did you get an update for vital signs with the numbers? What is going on?
They told me like 500, but they believe it's including the speakers and Ryan's Big Blue Army.
And Ryan's what?
Big Blue Army.
Oh, okay. So way down. So, we wanna try to make sure, who knows if there's gonna be a vital signs in the future, if the numbers are that low. I think it's important that we continue to offer a good conference, that we continue to offer the stuff for free, the snacks, the lunch and all that, because I think, people just don't have money to be able to afford to come do this. So, I'm looking for a, approval for this.
The motion that we do this.
So we have a motion from Ron Smith to approve the contract for next year. Do we have a second? Bob McKenzie. Any further discussion? So what I'm gonna ask on voting things is raise your hand if you disagree. If you don't raise your hand, then I'm gonna assume for the 2 offsites that you're in agreement. Here in Watertown, you can state you don't agree type deal. All those opposed to the contract for Edgewood for next year? Awesome, we'll get that signed and get that back to them. Thank you. I thought we might as well do it right
Yep,
there while we're
that
on
works.
Spring Fling.
So miscellaneous things that we participated in, so state quality metrics, state legislative committee, and state data and informatics. Zach and I sit on the update education team for that, which is going nowhere because we don't have a data dictionary. State EMS meetings, we attended in December, February, and September. The next meetings are December 5th through the 6th. I put the wrong date. And we went to the EMS Memorial. And here's some various other things that we did. And also, just to remind you again, if you have any paperwork that needs to be submitted to our office, you should be sending it to paperwork@fdrhpo.org. Don't send it to any one of us individually, because it could be like with Amanda out today, and I have no idea what anybody sent to her today. So, hope it was nothing important. Any questions for me or the program agency?
Okay, moving on. Safety, you got Neil
I
to
have
report?
Neil's report. Stand by.
No report.
What'd you say?
No report.
You're not the safety, it's
Oh,
Neil.
not safety anymore?
Well, you are, but Neil's the chair and we have a
Okay.
report
Yeah.
for CISM. So 31 members, 22 from Jefferson County, increase of 2, 5 from Lewis, unchanged. St. Lawrence went up to 4 with an increase of 1. So they have all those different disciplines that are sitting on the team at this point. June 10th,
Just scroll down a little bit.
yeah, Town of Watertown, they did a meeting and review of SOGs. October 12th, they held at Governor Volunteer Fire, a meeting and are continuing to work on that. And their next scheduled meeting is January 18th. Responses, roughly 15 peer-to-peer or one-on-one interactions in Jefferson County, none reported for Lewis and none officially reported in St. Louis. However, Director Denner reported that he and his people have done several and did not realize that we were formally tracking these. So he's made sure to stress with them that we do need to capture that data. No crisis briefings, 1 diffusing on 8/9. 6 debriefings with the different dates there. And 1 responder referral to Priority Wellness. Other notable things, applications are going to the FDR-HPO email under CISM so that they can get them. And we have shortened the application processing so that people can get on sooner. We still haven't done much with the CISM webpage because we're waiting for FDR-HPO to switch to their new website. And hopefully that will happen here soon.
Hoping to demo that for you guys tonight, but that's Amanda's project and I don't have access to it.
So,
She's done
all
some
in
really
all,
nice things.
the CISM, it's wonderful to have it back up and running. And the group has really done a nice job getting out and helping take care of our people. So kudos to the CISM team for getting all that taken care of. Mark, SEMSCO and CMAC.
I should have talked about.
All right, CMAC and SEMSCO met in September, in the wonderful Troy, New York. Fair amount going on. First thing to be on the lookout for educational regulations. Those are under an emergency regulation. So once they are approved by the SEMSCO, and I'm assuming at the December meeting, they will be in place. There's also vehicle safety regulations that are coming out in the standard direction and an updated minimum equipment list. Pay attention to the safety regs when they come out because they do have some unfunded mandates in them, especially as it has to do with new vehicle construction. Things like backup cameras requirements, the typical stretcher securing device will not be accepted in new vehicles. Everything will have to have a commercial securing device, monitors, AEDs, et cetera, will have to have a commercial device to secure it. And then the minimum equipment list actually just kind of cleans up some of the stuff that should have been cleaned up 35 years ago. The wall time issue, Dr. Morley, who's our deputy commissioner, has been working and has facilitated meetings with Flipping. Between that and some of the CMAC docs, they seem to have a pretty good conversation going on it. And they're going to continue to work forward on it. There's new protocols that'll be coming out the first of the year. There's actually not a ton of protocol changes. Most of it is just cleaning up some formatting issues and some typos in the previous one. I believe there's only one actually new protocol, and it's an adolescent behavior one. There's also an updated alternative medication formulary that'll go into place after the first of the year as well. Performance standards, they will be out in December, up for a vote. So we will see what the future looks like after then. There's a lot of good ideas, big lists that are going to get cut down quite a bit. And once that happens, you know, they're going to come out with some performance metrics that we're all going to be held to. The state is doing a lot of surveys. They're under, if you go to the Bureau's website, they're in, I believe it's provider feedback / surveys. The last I knew, there were 4 of them. Up there, they really would like participation if possible. The rural task force should be finishing up in December. So I'm assuming that we're going to have a report from them at the December meeting. The long drawn out conversation with credentialing that's been going on for way too long. We're going to talk much more about from a regional standpoint moving forward, I believe this evening. But there are some different options, but ultimately the agency medical director has the ultimate ability to credential and decredential at the advanced level. There's 2 new policy statements, pilot education programs and funding, which increases the reimbursement for 2 core sponsors for funding. And then there's also a CMAC advisory on selection, use, and approval of medical devices, which came about with the de-choker things. I'm sure everyone will be shocked to hear that the Bureau of EMS is hiring like 25 more people. Because no one actually knows why. When you do your agency renewal, you will now be given a certified EMS agency self-assessment, which basically asks a bunch of questions about where your agency sits. They claim they're not going to use it in any form of punitive way, but it's more of a way for you to look back and see where your agency sits and what you can do to improve it. The salary survey came out and it's completely as expected. The budget recommendations actually just got completed earlier this week. That went up to Ryan asked to be given to the commissioner for the governor's budget. Most of it involves around the definition of EMS and community paramedicine. They're coming up with a way to sunset at least the paramedic level practical skills exam. to align with, the National Registry. And I would expect that they're gonna continue to do that with AEMT and EMT. The bridge that Northwell puts on, the two current cohorts have about 50 students. The cohort that I actually believe starts this month had 4 registered at the time of the meeting. So the CC level, it sounds like they're planning on sunsetting in about a recertification cycle. So providers will have, basically, they will allow them to recertify one more time, and then they won't be able to recertify at the CC. They can either go to paramedic or drop down to AEMT. But a lot of it is the number of active CCs has reduced by 50% since 2020. And, you know, the counties that typically relied very heavily on CCs in the southern part of the state now have quite a bit more paramedics.
So why don't we take a second, review the Survey Monkey, Mark, since you're on this. So when we were at state council and they started talking about sunsetting it, I took the time when we were there to write a quick survey to send out to the critical cares in our region. So 23 went out and we got 12 responses. And we asked when their cards were gonna expire, and it's various times from 2023 through, I think, 2028 that the cards were going to expire. And then I asked the age group of the critical cares. So you can see the breakdown of the age group there for our region of the critical cares. No, because they haven't offered it in how many years? They pulled it out of the program, but they were allowing people that were critical cares to keep it if they recertified in a CME program. Yeah. So then, are you currently practicing? We had 11 that said yes. We had 1 that said no, they were not. And I asked, how many calls have you done? And it varied from between 2 and about 250, it looks like. But we will, the data where we asked them to fill in, we will get that together so that we can send that out to everybody so that you'll see what the responses were.
And we had one provider that said they weren't actively providing care anymore. So the rest of these will be reflective of 11 respondents.
About the sunsetting, do you plan on taking the bridge? 5 said yes, 6 said no, they were not going to take the bridge. And if you answered no, why not? So time constraints, financial constraints, and others. And some of the answers for others, 1 said they're taking the Clarkson paramedic class, so they're taking the whole class, so that's why they answered no to that. We got different responses. And then the last question we asked was, is there any additional information that you would like to share with us so that we knew their feelings? And I want to share just a couple of them with you. Not happy about the state's decision with sunsetting the CC. The difference in the skills between the CC and paramedic are minimal, and those additional skills are very, very seldom used by the paramedic anyway. I understand maybe not teaching any CC level courses, but as long as they're able to do CME recertified, the state should allow them to continue to practice. This one says $5,000 is a lot of money to ask for a level of care that is currently practicing that is not allowed to do 3 skills that a paramedic can. So those are the type answers that we had. So we also shared this so that the Mountain Lakes could do it. They have over 100 CCs up in their region, and we had 30 some, 40 some do that survey. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this data together and share it with the state so that they will have that and know, what the thoughts were, so that that is shared out there.
Was the Mountain Lakes responses very similar to ours?
Yes.
A little bit more snarky, maybe, but.
That's okay.
But similar.
Thank you, Mark. Go ahead.
All right, so there's, the new trauma triage guidelines that came out, some people from STAC put together, some kind of very generic training for it that anybody can use. It just talks about how to read them and what the differences mean. Office of Mental Health is standing up 22 crisis centers across the state. There's supportive crisis centers, and then there's intensive crisis centers. The question is where they're going to be across the state. So, I'm sure we'll have a abundance of them here in the North Country to help with, you know, our mental health issues. There are some people working on de-escalation tactics. Data is all the rage, and that was talked about earlier. There's a quality improvement training program that updates the really old QI manual that the state had. I believe that's a early to mid 90s document that will be formally published. And that is about it, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Mark? Okay, not hearing any. Training and ed, Paul.
No report.
No report for training and ed, okay?
Can I bounce back to the roadmap, just so we can talk about the two policies and
Yep.
updates that we did? So I forgot something, so I apologize for making this a little longer. So we did some policy updates. So to the REMAC policy handbook, so all policies were updated to reflect the current letterhead. 1704 was approved to remove Ann's phone number from the qualified provider, medical provider on scene, and put our office after hours number, which rings through to my cell, Jess's cell, and Amanda and Zach as well. So that was approved. We changed the FAST-CD stroke scale, has been approved in the North Country EMS region, which it said Central New York in the policy, so we just updated the policy to reflect the North Country. Medical control destinations, instead of having every individual hospital listed out, we changed it so all hospitals in the North Country EMS region are approved as medical control facilities, just to clean up the language. In the TXA protocol, we changed it so that it states that the training is available on our learning management system, and just strengthen the language by saying that you need to go to the learning management system to get that certificate, so we know that you're trained. And that was the proposed trainings, and then that's just everything that's gonna go in the med control handbook. And then we adopted 2 draft policies. So the first is the ALS minimum equipment inspection. So it's a change from 1203, which was just our ALS inspection. It strengthens the language behind it to allow the program agency or any REMAC designated person to go and do an inspection of an agency, because we're looking at the regionally required ALS minimum equipment. So it just added that language and strengthened it, so the state can't come back at us and say that we're not allowed to do that anymore, because they were trying to say that. And then draft policy was approved for EMS response during severe weather, so storm preparedness, severe weather warnings, tornado watches, tornado warnings, imminent tornado strike, post-tornado strike, blizzard watch, because we never get those here, blizzard warning, because it's like it never happens, and suspension of EMS operations, resuming EMS response, and interfacility transports. With a assessment tool that we are going to put more instructions with on how to properly use, because it could be a little confusing. But as basically, if the top portion of the assessment tool is greater than what the patient's condition score is, then you divert the transport to later. And if it's vice versa, if the patient's more critical than what the weather is bad, you transport.
Who would fill that out?
It would be done at the agency level. It's a tool for you to use at your agency. I'm all about giving tools.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. So that's, the rest of what we did there, and sorry I didn't cover that earlier. That's my bad.
Not a problem. Okay, county reports. Jefferson, Paul.
Well, we've continued to remain busy and moving forward are gonna be busy. Jonathan's got a copy of this, I believe he's gonna be sending it out.
Yeah, it'll go out with the minutes.
So I will, kind of abbreviate it. Presently, we have, 2 basic classes underway, paramedic refresher and the summertime basic EMT class is completed. And, we ended up with 12 completing that course. We're right now, the regional faculty are putting together, a pilot, CLI curriculum for the state. In essence, what we're gonna be doing is the regional faculty will be presenting the topics. The candidates will then review them, at their leisure, at their homes. There is will be a built-in quiz, if you will, and at completion, they'll have a certificate. And with that, each month in each of the regions, be it, Jefferson.
Not each region.
Oh.
One
Okay.
1 month.
Right, each month we'll go to one region.
There you go.
Okay, be it up in St. Lawrence, Jefferson, and Lewis, if there's any takers there. And we will then do the skills testing. And their presentations will be done at those sites. The idea is the state has come back full circle again and are gonna push to have at least 50% of our lab and PSE all at least CLI certified. So the numbers are gonna be a crunch game. So this was a way to try to enhance this. When this was presented by Debbie down in Albany, they jumped on board. They thought it was a great idea. So we're putting it together. I think our target date is December to have everything finalized, and we'll start our first group probably the first of the year. So that's exciting but busy. In the spring, we have right now, 1 basic class scheduled. We have 2 advanced classes, tentatively scheduled, one in the southern part of the county, the other in Constableville. And we have a potential for another basic class in the Cape Vincent region and potentially an advanced class in the northern part, depending on numbers and the ability to meet all those needs. With our MIH program is going very well. We're broadening our horizons. We've initiated emergency visits. At this point, the South Jefferson agency is doing our emergency visits as a trial. And what that basically is if somebody is discharged on a Friday evening, on a Saturday, and there's no family, public health can't get in to see these folks for maybe 7 to 10 days, they are sending us out, right from the hospital's discharges. So that's pretty big step forward. The other thing that just starting, and I don't even think we have it completely written up, is a respite care program, we were contacted by a local physician that a patient's primary care provider was gonna be out of town for about a week, 10 days, and have asked if this program would allow us to go in and visit this individual a couple of times during the absence of their primary provider. That's being implemented as well. We're gonna start doing some blood draws and wound care. So we're broadening out in that area. Our Spectrum commercials are coming back, so if you do any streaming, you might find those ads coming back in the fall. And our plan right now is hopefully later this month to put on another class. We have at least 9 new providers that want to get involved, so that's encouraging. As far as participation, we continue to help out with the Fort Drum Mountain Fest, the county fair, the Fort Drum disaster drill, the coverage for the DPAO concerts. Participated in the airport tabletop exercise, which is a FAA requirement. We're gonna be going on Friday of this week to a winter weather tabletop exercise down in Oswego County. So we'll be participating in that. Our quarterly EMS meetings continue to be on the second Wednesday every third month. So our next one's in December. The Fort Drum full-scale exercise is starting to crank up, even though this is only October. Our first planning session is this week for that exercise next July. And out in Fort Drum, the joint training with the Guardian Academy, they have now opened up the 2-day course for our civilian EMS providers. So instead of just going on the day they do the exercise, they're now gonna be able to sit through the entire classroom and participate in the drill. So those are kind of in a nutshell, kind of speed reading. But I'll entertain any questions anybody has, or if I missed anything.
Jefferson County Airport, we've identified the staging area and access point for EMS.
I read right over that.
Did you? It was a kind of, so that should be coming out. We've identified a better staging area, better access than what we've done at the airport, and also Fort Drum. We've changed the staging areas at Fort Drum. We finally have an agreement between all the emergency services for 5 different staging areas, on post and off post. And that map should be coming out as well, so.
So based on his report he just gave, part of this pilot with the CLI was, I wanted to see if this council would approve buying 15 of the Foundations of Education and EMS Approach. This is used for the CLI that we could make available for students to sign out. So our thought was we would have 5 in each of the counties that people could then sign out. We were gonna charge a $50 deposit, and when you return the book, we would give you the $50 back. So to buy 15 of them, it is $1,079.25. So I'm looking for,
I'll make a motion. Let's bring that.
so we have a motion from Bobby Simpson to buy those. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Seconded by Bruce. Is there any further discussion?
Yes. How much is the book to begin with?
$71.95 a piece.
71, and you're gonna have a $50 deposit.
Mm-hmm.
How many people gonna wanna rent it for $50?
Some who can't afford $70.
You know,
They're gonna get it back as long as they return the
Right,
book,
but
so.
how many people are going to put up the $50 deposit on the book?
I think what we'll find is they'll do this because they won't order it, and then they'll forget, and then they're gonna wanna take their test, and they're not gonna have the book. So I think they're gonna come get the book from us, cause it's gonna be in the 3 counties. So I think rather than wait to get it in the mail, I think they'll come I think they'll come get it from,
And this book is also used by CIC, so
Yeah.
this book, anybody that wants to become an instructor, CLI or CIC, is gonna need this book to study from.
One of the other reasons we said it like that was if we said, give us a $20 deposit, they keep the book. And we're only got $20 out of a book that cost us 70.
Right,
So this way, they got a little.
they got more incentive to bring it back.
Exactly.
yeah,
I get that part,
yeah.
Exactly.
but if they're gonna, well, of course, they don't have to keep the book with this.
Right,
Right.
right. They need the book to study for the test.
That's it.
The
Well, will the
unfortunate,
book be obsolete after,
Well,
like one time?
they just went to the 3rd edition, so I'm thinking not.
Brand new edition.
it's a brand new.
But how long will that edition do you think will be good? Will it
The
be
last
good
one
for
was
1 year?
5, 6
Will it be
years.
good 5 years or?
Yeah.
At least,
2nd edition was like 5 years,
yeah.
I think it was longer than that too.
maybe.
Yeah, the problem, and I think anybody who has done the CLI will agree, the CLI curriculum as it's written by New York State does not prepare the students to take the exam. It comes out of this book, and that's where it comes from. So without that, we're setting them up almost to fail. So providing them this book where they have it so they can review and study for that state written exam is just going to help them succeed.
So I should mention that the state has decided to open this pilot up to anybody in the state. However, they will have to come to one of the 3 counties to take the test. And these books, we were gonna leave just for the people that we serve in the 3 counties. We weren't gonna let somebody from Oswego County sign it out, or the Bronx or whatever. These books were just gonna be for the people in our 3-county
The
region.
motion should include that. That, the books are for residents of the 3 counties.
Okay, will you make
I will
that?
amend that.
You'll amend that? Who seconded it?
I did.
Bruce, are you okay
Yeah,
with
just-
that amendment? So we have an amendment to the motion that says to go ahead and purchase 15 books at an individual price of $71.95 for a total cost of $1,079.25. And that 5 will be in each of the 3 counties, and that the books will not be loaned out to somebody that does not reside or work in one of the 3 counties. Any further discussion?
Does that need to be a roll call vote because it's dealing with money?
No, not for that amount, so we've got it under training. We have a budget line for it. In our training budget. Hearing nothing, if you're opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, we'll get that taken care of.
Shouldn't you have asked for abstentions?
Are there any abstentions? Okay,
That's still not proper according to Robert's rules, but
what isn't proper?
you're supposed to ask for who's in favor, who's,
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, please raise your hand. Any abstentions, please raise your hand. Okay,
Thank you.
is that it for your report?
Oh, yes.
Okay, St. Lawrence, Jonathan Mitchell and Doug Wildermuth.
Keep you off the phone.
Jonathan.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Jonathan's not here. I'm not sure exactly what he wants to express. As far as Clarkson University, we have same regular gambit going. We're very, very busy with our staff right now, getting things ready for the paramedic program, which is one of the first things I want to do is say thank you to this REMAC for the nice letter of support that we received. We attached it with 2 others and submitted everything into the State Department of Health, and we were granted a full authorization to teach paramedic level courses. So we thank you for your cooperation on that. We're looking forward to it. While I'm on that, our class is starting November 27th. Without an internet site, it was pretty hard to advertise, but we were hoping that we'd have many applications and cut it off at 20, but we really weren't sure how that was going to go. We were pleasantly surprised and received 19 applications. So we're very excited. We're doing interviews and some preliminary stuff right now, preparing for letters of acceptance in the beginning of November and orientation on November 27th. So there's a lot of preceptor classes going around right now. I would recommend, if you are or know somebody that is a good EMT or paramedic and is interested in working with any of the Clarkson EMS education programs, that they sign up for a preceptor class. We have our first one on October 25th at 6 o'clock p.m. James has been sending a lot of stuff out. I know John's been supporting it through Fort Drum. I appreciate that. And we're just trying to get the word out. The first ones are in person. We want to go ahead and make strong connections and make sure that we know who we're dealing with, not from a rule in, rule out, but, putting faces to names, that kind of thing. So we are going to go virtual eventually, but we're not exactly sure when that's going to be with our preceptor programs. So things are going well with there. Very, very busy doing the credentialing phase from COA as well. Other programs, our EMT class is going well this, what are we in? Fall? So that's going to wind up probably with another 15 paramedics in December. I'm sorry, EMTs in December. And we're gearing up for a North County EMT program, which we're still working on a co-instructor. And then we're definitely going to have one on campus as well in the spring. So things are looking sharp there. Announcements for that should be out this month. CME wise, things are going great as well. We started up again in September with Kelly Grayson. Last week was Chris Ebright, and next month will be Dr. Jason Kodat, who's going to be doing a bunch of respiratory ailments. Again, that's 6:30, November 9th, and a lot of registrations for that CME has been going around as well. Those are free, they are virtual, unless it's a virtual and in person, then they're announced on the registration. But we're doing pretty well in that program with a minimum of 50 to 60 participants showing up to those, so we're happy with that. Lastly, we have our AHA programs. We are an official training site. So if anybody's interested in conducting any programs or instructing for us, you're more than welcome to give me a call. We have our monthly CPR class will be November 1st. And then on November 18th and 20th from 6 to 10 in the evening, I'm screwing up these dates left and right. Repeat. December 18th and 20th from 6 to 10 p.m. at night, we're going to be doing a PALS class at Clarkson. So if you know anybody that needs PALS, we're also going to be setting up more ACLS, PALS, and CPR classes in January, but nothing new there. Other than that, if you have any questions, I thank you for your time. Through it and see.
If someone's talking, we can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Repeat all that, Debbie. I'm sorry.
Oh. Okay. So just point of clarification, the letter of support came from the REMSCO, not the REMAC. And Doug did send it to me and I got approval from the executive committee to do that. And that went out on September 14th to give them our support for that paramedic program. Do you have a website up and running yet with all this neat training you've got on it?
Yes, ma'am. It's slowly getting up there. There is a website now for, it's a wing of the Clarkson School of Health Sciences. So you have your EMT program, CME program, and paramedic program. So you can just Google Clarkson paramedic, Clarkson EMT, Clarkson CME, something like that, and you'll find it.
Awesome. Because it sounds like you got a lot of training and we want to make sure everybody knows those dates.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything else for St. Lawrence County in Jonathan's absence? Hearing none, we'll go on to Bob McKenzie in Lewis County.
Stand by.
Get ready for the helicopter and the airplane landing.
To respect everybody's hearing, I'll be as quick as possible. We have basically been playing catch up here. The Mid-State region has decided to eliminate their phone system down there and go completely over to Pulsera. This was done without our knowledge, and so we've been reintroducing ourselves to the Mid-State region as far as getting them to give us a call and let us know what's going on. There's a new hospital down in Utica called the Wynn Hospital. The St. Elizabeth's and the St. Luke's campus respectively will be closing as of the 28th. There will be one central hospital down there. I guess they did some tours for a lot of EMS agencies, and we were included in that this weekend when they said, yep, come on down. So that was the announcement that we could make locally to our EMS agencies to try to figure out how to do things. So I have in fact used the Pulsera app now that I got the other agencies caught up on that. I'm appalled at the fact that I have to pull out my cell phone and play with my cell phone rather than make a phone call, because they think that I'm completely ignoring them. And I have used it. It's been successful. I guess it's a learning curve for an old man. I've yet to figure out how medical control works on an app. But if I need to call somebody, I guess there's a number I can call, but it wasn't really available to me right away. So that's what we've been doing for the past couple of weeks. It's been very stressful. It's been a lot of work, and that's basically what we've been doing. Hopefully we can have a better ending to the year, and I will sign off so I can protect your eardrums from this lovely background noise.
Does anybody have, am I muted?
No, you're good.
Does anybody have any questions for Bob? Okay, we'll keep moving. Old business. So we had talked about at the last meeting, looking at maybe doing a newsletter. Hopefully you all received a copy of it. We did sign a memorandum of understanding with Krista Kittle to help us put that together. And we're paying her a stipend of $100 a month to do that. Our initial one went out to 383 people via email. That's an amazing number. Our goal is to keep it to under a 5-minute read, because we know our elected officials are busy. And if we send anything any longer or bigger, they're just not going to read it. And we have had a couple of issues with some elected officials that went to their spam. So we've given them the direction on it's probably in your spam type deal. So hopefully you guys had a chance to look at it, because you were all added to the list. We've already had a meeting. We're working on the next one. The November-December issue, we're shooting for a 10/25 deadline to have the information to Krista. And we hope to publish it in December. And we're doing what is included in an ambulance, a fly car and a helicopter. We want to thank our elected officials for the bills that have been passed. I am doing a feel-good story on Raleigh Churchill. A lot of you know Raleigh. He had a sudden cardiac arrest, and they got ROSC, and he's home, and everything is wonderful. So I thought that would be a nice feel-good story on, you know, what he remembers and what happened type deal, so that we could have that. And then it was suggested that we add a small section at the bottom of the newsletter, and we're gonna call it Pulse Tidbits. And the first one is going to be the starved life and what all the sections mean. But we're gonna do things like, you know, watch for emergency vehicles, something during stroke month, something during autism month, just little segments on that type deal. And hopefully we can pull some stuff from the database on the number of calls in our region that we had for those type things. So I want to thank everybody. We have 3 different committees kind of working on this. We got education, we got legislation, we got peer. And I really hope that the elected officials are gonna appreciate it. And if there's something you'd like to see in future ones, we kind of put down some stuff for our next one, which will be a January, February issue. Please share with me and I will get it to the committee so that we can work on that. So we put a lot of work into it, but I think hopefully it's something people are gonna take time and read.
If anybody has suggestions where else you should go, we reach out to elected officials. I thought about public, we didn't send it to like the public health. And our EMS agency leaders, they didn't get it, did they?
No, but it was sent out in a,
Separate?
it was sent
Okay.
out in a separate,
All
because we're limited to 500
Yep.
in that MailChimp. So we wanted to make sure that we got it to those elected officials.
I'm thinking our EMS agency leaders, hopefully they can send that out through their town board or village board or whoever they interact with as well to try to grow that number. Okay, I didn't go, but it's done good.
I was gonna ask how deeper into public officials are you going? Town boards, at least.
Vice president on down, any elected official, at least in Jefferson County, we went from elected
Mayors.
federal, mayor, village board, town supervisor.
And same with
and
Lewis
anybody else
County.
elected.
I got a huge list, and then the list for St. Lawrence wasn't quite as large, but I'm hoping that maybe we can work on expanding it and, grow it, but we are limited to 500 with that MailChimp, so, that's, you guys are all put on it. But at some point we may, like for the agencies, it was sent out, a weekly link to get that. So
We can send out the same thing twice, right?
you'd have to have two different MailChimp things.
Right.
But, please give us any feedback on that, if there's something that you liked, didn't like, so that we know. The next thing, is data collection. So July 14th, a letter went out to every agency asking them to go into a SurveyMonkey link and give us the number of calls, for each month, starting when, well, I wanted this to start in September. Average time, from call received to en route, average time on scene, average time for entire call, and scratch rates for all of that. And we put in there, tell us what your average, what your yearly call volume is, breaking it down into 3 different sections so that we're not comparing an agency that does 2, 3, 4 more thousand calls to an agency that does 100 for the year. So we're gonna have it 3 different buckets. And we offered in there, tell us what software you use, and do you need help getting these reports written so that we can help you, because once we write them for you, then you would just need to run them every month. And I'm very disappointed to say, this went out on July 14th. We've done 2 follow-ups, and we only have 20 of the 43 agencies that have done this. New York State is making data collection a requirement. Our hope was we would get ahead of it for the state and say, here, this is the data. We're gonna give it to you. This is what we have type deal. And then also look at it from the council's end on, is there agencies that need help with something? And do agencies need help understanding what the data means? Do they understand what the data means and what they should be looking at type deal? Dr. Delaney, as a regional medical director, sent out a letter to all of the medical directors last month and said, we need you to sign on that, number one, you accept the CQI. Do you want to pull that up, John? That your agency is going to comply with our didactic and clinical yearly requirements, that you understand our REMAC and the CME policy handbook, that you are going to participate in our CQI plan. The hope there was if a medical director needs guidance and direction on what to do with a provider that they don't really want it to go to the state, but they may need some additional training or whatever, that they could reach out to the REMAC through the program agency, and we could give them that assistance. And that they complete the data collection survey. And then we had added any additional requirements set forth in the future by the REMAC or the REMSCO, and that failure to comply could result in agency suspension of ALS privileges within the region. And, you know, it states right in Article 30 that the REMAC credentials agencies at the levels, so the assumption is they could take it away. We've had one concern from one agency leader that feels that we're overstepping our bounds there by doing that. The email he sent to me was shared with the REMAC docs. And the REMAC docs have decided to keep it the way it states. They do not want any changes to that. So I'll be reaching out to that person. Unfortunately, Amanda was sick today, so we do not know how many have been turned back in. So we've got to check on that to get that taken care of. But I'm looking for some guidance from these folks, everybody on here. And what do we do to get people to complete things when we send it to them? So it went out, the original letter went out on July 14th. And we followed up twice more with the agencies, with the 23 that have not responded. What does anybody feel? What is the next step in order to get them to complete this data collection? It doesn't even take I think the average time it shows is like 4 minutes and 6 seconds to do it. It's not like we're asking 2 hours worth of questions. It's a very, very simple form. So I'm looking for some input.
I think it partly depends on how much they track on a daily basis at their agency. Now, I'm on the tiers board and I get a very comprehensive report every month. What we've done so far for the year, how that compares to previous years, how many transports we've made out of each town that we serve, how many interfacility transports we've made and everything else. So, you know, but then again, we've got a couple of full-time people working on that, keeping that stuff up. So if you got a smaller agency that does not have somebody working on that stuff all the time, then now, you know, providing a tool of some sort so they can keep track of that. Otherwise, they end up having to go through some sort of records.
It's all electronic.
They still have to sit down and go through it.
Yeah.
And, you know, gee, I just don't have time.
Well, and that's why we added the caveat in there too, though, that if you need assistance with this, let us know, because that's something that's very easy for us to pull here at our office, because a lot of it is a state metric.
But we said we would help them write the report, so all they would have to do is every month run it for the month prior. Yeah.
This was a voluntary compliance, am I correct? This was not a mandated that they apply, that they respond to your thing.
No,
This
it's
was voluntary.
no, it's the state is requiring that we start doing data collection. That was put out in the last, there was
Required by the agency to comply.
the state is
So they're gonna
requiring
get it.
each agency to comply with data collection. We were trying to get ahead of the curve and collect the data, get it set up so that agencies wouldn't be individually trying to do it and send it to the state. So we were looking to capture that data for our region and provide it up to the state.
So you would be sending the data to the state on behalf of the agency?
Yes, for the region. Yep. Mark, what is that software we bought?
Smart Sheets?
Isn't the information already available through the PCR data?
Some, but not all.
The scratch rates would not be available through the PCR data. But we have, because so much of the data is coming up through.
For the periods that you're looking for, some of the, and I'm not, I don't want to pick and choose here, but, for some of the smaller agencies, could you not pull the number of calls that they have for the time frame that you're looking for? And have them compare their data to yours and see if it's accurate?
Well, if I can't get them to answer this, if I send them a thing and says, is this accurate for last month? How many of them are gonna give me that, respond yes or no?
Valid, yep, I agree with you, I'm done, yeah, it's totally valid, I'm just spitballing here.
What if we took it at a more localized look at it and utilize Paul's office and Bob's office and Jonathan's office, not this Jonathan, the other Jonathan, to maybe use them as our fingers into the community, and they can do what Bob just suggested, and we can compare it to the data on our end as to see how accurate it is. Not to throw Bob or Paul.
I think they'll have a full letter already.
They answer us about as well as they answer you.
Yeah.
Twice Paul and I, well, Paul blew me off this year, but anyway, I traveled around the county during EMS week. I brought brownies to agencies. I met with as many agencies as I could get an appointment with. I tried to spend an hour and a half there. I left a sheet with things that we were still looking for that would help us: contact information, leadership, who's your two people for point of contact for, decision-making. We were looking for well, I can't remember some other thing. It was like 5 things. It was very, very simple, things. And I got, we were looking for pictures for the fair. I got 2. It wasn't a ton of stuff that we were looking for, but it's stuff that would help with recruitment, retention, getting our name out, putting our face out there, getting EMS. I don't want, Paul and I, it's not our office, it's the county, but we can't do it by ourselves. We have to get the 15 agencies in the county to help us. We need the good stories, the pictures, the trainings, all that. And if nobody's giving it to us, it's hard to make that stuff up. So we're trying to promote EMS. We're trying to tell people how wonderful we are, that we deserve more money, that we need to be recognized. We need these more skills. But yet when you go to an agency, hey, can you give me a picture? You get nothing. So I find it very frustrating to try to get some enthusiasm from our agency leaders to get some of this stuff done. So I don't know if they would answer us any more than you.
The bottom line is, it's got to be done. It's either we do it, collaboratively here in our region, or the state's gonna come down and say, this is what we want. The state will bring the hammer down on these agencies that aren't compliant. So they're just trying to circumvent that and get everything prepared in advance.
Well, we say we need more money. We say, recruitment's an issue, and the hope is that some of this we could use as when we are meeting with elected officials on, this is what we're up against. And I called Mark one day and I said, I feel like I'm beating my head against the wall. I'm trying to be proactive and do this, and I can't get responses. I don't know what more to do. So that's why I was looking for you guys for some guidance and direction on what we can do.
I don't think you can do anything.
I don't either. Well, you got about 50% response, about 45% response with it.
It was about 50.
Without holding a hammer over their head and saying, do it or else, that's not a bad response. What would be the hammer? And looking at the state level.
It's hard to say.
We don't have a hammer to hold over
There
the
is
head.
no hammer, there's no determination. They have nothing to hold over you because data collection is now a new thing that they want.
Well, that's my point.
So there is no incentive or disincentive to comply.
Because there's so much unknown about it.
Yep. I mean, they still can't even figure out EPCRs. Pulling data from that. This has been an ongoing issue.
Oh, don't get them going.
They can't even figure that out. And they're just spinning their wheels. So now you're gonna get all these data points. What are you doing with the data points? Are you gonna turn around and inject the $200 million that ambulance agencies have been asking from New York State for the last 10 years to save our system? Or are you just gonna sit on this data and wanna pull it up and dust it off when you need to look good in front of some bureaucrat? They don't know what they wanna do with the data.
But locally, if we can get the data, we have, I think, done a good job in the last year making our case. We've been meeting with representatives. The more data we can send them, the better, even if it's just us. I don't even care about the state.
Chris, they don't get it. We talk with them, they get it. We're not talking to people that are uneducated about it. And if they are uneducated, they've been, introduced and they get it, they understand it.
They do, but they get it today. But we need to come with them tomorrow with a
They get it
fresh
for the
set
moment
of
you're in
data.
front of them.
And we need to be front and center with new data, with new information, with new ideas, with new everything as a constant, because otherwise they forget about us. We go to the bottom of the pile. Unless we can keep sending stuff to them and updating them and keeping us front and center, we get forgotten about, and I don't want to do that. I have developed contacts, and you probably have too, that you start sending all this data to. I get emails constantly. I forward that on to our elected representatives constantly. Every week or so, I'm sending stuff to Olivia, I'm sending stuff to Scott Gray's office. I don't know if it does any good, I don't care if it does any good, but we're sending stuff to Washington DC, we're sending stuff, we are saturating them with article after article after article. Some of it's local, some of it's nationwide, but they are seeing something coming from Jefferson County EMS, something coming from the North Country all the time. And we're staying up there, and we're on the radar. And I think this is part of staying on the radar, having up-to-date data. It can't hurt to have certain data that we share with them. My opinion.
So any other input on what we can do to get these other 23 agencies to complete this survey so that then we can attempt to try to start collecting the data?
Send stuff out to DC every week. Send it back out to them every single week. Please complete this one. After a while, they're gonna have to say, I'm getting tired of getting this one, I guess I'll do this survey, or they'll just put you on the blacklist and they won't see you at all.
Or block you.
Yeah,
What about the board of directors of the agencies, sending a letter to the chair?
Or the municipality, because
Yeah.
their fire department ambulance, they run generally run by a municipality.
With an explanation of what it is you're trying to get, maybe they can put a little plug in the ear of the agencies. Because Chris is right, I can't tell you how many times we send information out on CME opportunities and different things, and the ranking file never get the information. I think it just goes into a spam file and nothing ever gets disseminated.
That's the fire service for decades.
So,
It's not just the secretary's desk.
Yeah.
the president's
Sometimes
desk. It does. A lot of times it does that.
Well, I think we can try that. We can go to the board and the municipalities for those areas and say,
after several failed attempts,
can you help us? Here's the letter. Can you help us get this? So that we can try to move forward with this. Because again, I had hoped to start collecting data in September. I said, like I said, this went out July 14th. I was hoping, like I said, to collect the data, but that hasn't happened. And I think that once ESO and some of them, with them collecting less data points, that we can get a lot of that, but you're not gonna get the scratch rates from there. And we need to take this data and give it back to the agencies in this neat Excel file that will show graphs and things so they can compare themselves to other agencies of the same size. So they can see, are they doing good or is there an area they need to improve in?
Well, I think a lot of them already know and they don't want to admit it.
It could be.
Why should I tell you how many times I didn't make a call?
Well, I think
Yeah,
there's
but
a
you should be
fear
able to
of
have that
future behind
information.
it too.
it goes out every
It's
month.
skewed. Depends
It
on
is
how the
skewed.
dispatcher enters it.
No examples.
It just depends on how the dispatcher enters it.
You don't know the scratch 50%.
Yep.
It's the state forever, 4 years or 5 years to catch up with it.
Mhm.
But also, I think we can use that scratch data.
Might help that.
You know, we're trying to get direct pay. Well, we missed a call because we don't have the funding to put another crew on. If you tie the two together, now that data becomes usable for us to push our agenda. It may not be totally accurate, but at least it's a point to make our position known. So I think we can use a lot of it to push our legislative agenda.
And under old business, we did approve the executive committee did approve, we did a situational awareness class in July. We had Rodney Duckworth come up and do it. We had 38 in attendance. Very happy with that turnout. Would have liked some more. I think we did a great class.
Good discussion.
That was taken care of.
And we're gonna do a virtual one for, because we got a lot of interest from the Mountain Lakes region, because they're also on my
Did he,
list.
I haven't seen that come over. I need to follow up with him probably.
Yep.
I'll
And
follow
we're
up with him.
gonna record that one and. put it on
Yes,
the
he's
list.
got one. He was doing one that we could put up on the LMS system. All that, I'll send him a thing and ask him the steps. Any other old business?
Still open?
This is the old business.
There's no old business. It's under.
Oh,
county
old
reports.
business open.
You turn your glasses on, you can't see it.
That's what I said. Is this the open from the floor? I said, no.
New business, 2024 proposed meeting dates. I do have an error on that. The February one should say 26, not the 28th. Our meetings are on Mondays, not Wednesdays, so that should say Monday, February 26th. So we got the 26th, we got April 8th, we have June 3rd, and we have the 21st. And we actually have the schedule from the state for the state council meetings. We've already made sure that there's no conflicts there.
April, that's the day of the eclipse, you know.
Oh, you have to see it, won't you?
Yeah, I won't be working.
You need a motion to approve that.
We're all going on vacation.
So, any questions about the proposed dates? Do we have a motion to accept them? Ron Smith made a motion to accept the 2024 REMAC REMSCO schedule. Do we have a second?
One second.
Seconded by Bobby. Any further discussion? And you'll notice I added on there when the T&E forms are being submitted by, because some of them have to be submitted with that quarter's expenditures to the state. So if it comes in after that, we don't get reimbursed for it. So that's why we actually have, when the T&E forms have to be submitted on there so that we get our reimbursement.
And they have to have a Google map if it's for travel. I don't process them anymore. FDR-HPO does that. It's not me. So if you do not have that with your T&E, they will send it back to you.
All those in favor signify by raising your hand if you approve the 2024 REMAC REMSCO schedule. Any opposed? I caught Doug up.
Mark's hand is still up too.
Any abstentions? Okay. Father.
Gotta be warned.
So we already did the critical care sunset. We did that when we were doing the state report. Other new business open from the floor. You okay?
No, but I'm still here.
Well, you better not be contaminating this all.
My doctor says it's okay for me to be here.
Okay.
He said that yesterday.
Okay.
She said that
You realize we're not going to his office for full face.
yesterday. I do have something to bring up. This is a one-time thing to bring up, and I will do it as quickly as I can because of who I am and the dates. On page 13 of this thing.
You gotta be more specific. Page 13 of what thing?
I'll get to it. On page 13 of the New York State, I'm gonna read this thing.
Oh, okay,
and
gotcha.
do it as quickly as I can. And I'm working at a little disadvantage tonight. On page 13 of the New York State 2023 evidence-based EMS agenda for the future. It states in 1973, New York State passed Article 30 and Part 800 of the Public Health Law, creating the New York State Emergency Medical Services Committee, CMAC, and 18 regional EMS councils, REMACs. These regional EMS councils coordinate emergency medical services within the Pacific regions. Note that it said 1973. That makes us 50 years. Jefferson and Lewis County already had a joint EMS council prior to the enactment of Article 30. In the fall of 1973, the Jeff Lewis Council transitioned into the Article 30 Council of Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence counties. Not all members of the Jeff Lewis Council transitioned into the Article 30 Council. With the formation of the North Country Article 30 Council in the fall of 1973, that makes this council 50 years old from the time it was first started. But the council did not incorporate until March 2nd, 1987. The council met in the boardroom of Mercy Hospital for many years. Sister Pierre, who was president of the Mercy Hospital, was our chair for many years, and Dr. John Herman was the vice chair. Then became chair for many years after Sister Pierre retired. The incorporation of this council was donated by Mercy Hospital. That was a big deal back then. It really was. For many years, this council was served by the Central New York Program Agency. The name may be wrong. Never much money to do programs within those years. The statement of why we didn't get more money was, money has to go to where the population is, and the population is in Syracuse region. We finally broke away from and formed our own program agency. And although there have been some problems from time to time, overall, it was a great move. REMAC, which falls under the Article 30 Council, has been a big addition with local control on medical procedures in medicine. Over the years, the council has tackled many issues, with some of the more notable were approving the paramedic program at JCC. Not all members were on board because it could affect the tax rate in Lewis County. A lot of discussion on that at the time. We were the civilian component that held the contract with Fort Drum for the MASS program, Military Assistance to Safety and Traffic Program. Other counties outside our region contracted with us to provide service to their counties. All money was for helping to equip and train the military helicopters for civilian needs. One big addition to the region was when Spring Fling was created. That is a medical conference that is recognized by other regions. Not always did we have a CON committee. I believe there are 4 CONs that have been contested in the history of the council. The first one I don't remember too well. One was North Country Life Flight, and that was a 7-county application. We had a joint public hearing at Tupper Lake with Mountain Lakes Council. I was the council secretary at the time, and the only representative from our council. They wanted to license the Fort Drum helicopters under their CON, and we said no. They ended up with St. Lawrence County with strings attached. Helicopters and aircraft no longer need CONs. Ironically, one of the players in the North Country Life Flight application became one of the players in the Fletcher Allen, our FACT application. And that application was also turned down, and we won that appeal as well. There have been far too many issues that we have dealt with as a council to mention here. I've only tried to mention a few of the high profile items, and I know I've missed many. Some council members, past and present, worthy mention. Sister Mary Pierre, also known as Ruth Seagram, Dr. John Herman, Dr. Richard Withington, Tim O'Brien, Becky Bender, Rebecca Bender, officially, Carolyn Barton, Al O'Neill, that was the sheriff of Jefferson County, Craig Ballard, Dorothy Lefevre, Bruce Wright, father and son, right?
Yes, sir.
Pat Hickey, that's the councilman in the city of Watertown. Jim Devers and Mark Devers, father and son, if I'm correct. Debbie Foltz, some non-members to know. George Johnson, Michael Gilbertson, Lee Burns, David Jonas, John Morrissey, and Ann Smith. I'm sure I've missed a few here and there. Also noteworthy is member myself, Ron Smith, have been a part of this council since it began in '73. Served as council secretary for 1 year in '92, '93, and served and chaired several committees, most notably the CON committee. This is the 50th anniversary for both the council and me. I'm done.
Done reading.
Done reading.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Ron, what I'd like to do is see if you would give that to Jonathan so that we could incorporate that when we send out the minutes so that everybody could have a copy of that.
Congratulations, 50 years.
Thank you. And yes, I was briefly on the old council that transitioned in, and I foolishly raised my hand when I said, anybody that wants to join this new council, and here I still am.
You're still here.
Other new business from the floor.
Question.
Oh, but you had a question?
Yeah, this is more information than business, but it does key in with one of the policies that we had. Skywarn coming up. Winter Skywarn online on the 25th of this month, 1st of November. If you'd like to go in person, and that's gonna be good for St. Lawrence County as well, because there'll be a representative from Burlington there as well. So that will be good for both, for the entire region. That is on the 6th of November at 6 o'clock at Indian River High School. I went to the spring one, it was excellent. Then another virtual session on the 28th of November. Go to weather.gov/BUF/Skywarn, and you can sign up for those after they do like registration.
Is it free?
It is free. Channel 7 is sponsoring the one at Indian River.
Can you send those to me, Larry?
Pardon?
Can you send those to me? I'll get them out in our,
Just make a note of the website.
I'll grab it from the recording.
Weather.gov/BUF/.
Any other new business?
Question.
Don't turn to your right.
I hear Pulsera for Syracuse is going live in November. Is that true?
November 1st.
Yes.
So listening to Bob's experience where they just kind of sprung it on him, a lot of us go to Syracuse. Is there
So-
any?
So we have been working with our local hospitals to get them to stand it up. Because we found with the problem with the EM resource platform was that we didn't have buy-in from the hospitals and therefore we got no buy-in from agencies. So we are reversing that process and approaching the hospitals first and working with them to get them to stand up the project for their facility in St. Lawrence County. All 3 St. Lawrence Health Systems hospitals have bought in. Carthage has in Jefferson County. Samaritan has verbally agreed to it, but due to some staffing turnover, we've kind of had to step back and let them figure out some things before we go guns blazing there. And Lewis County Hospital has, and they were all a part of the launch for the mid-state region. Which apparently I was supposed to be notifying and telling everyone that it was happening, but I didn't even really know that it was happening either, so it's hard to tell people what's going on when you don't know what's going on. So, Bob, I apologize for a lot of aggravation that you've probably had.
But
Lewis County's not ready to go, and I've heard nothing further on that. I know that they're committed to utilizing the Pulsera app. However, they've not set a go live date. They've not even had initial conversations other than just saying, yes, this is the platform we want to use.
Not talking about our region, we're talking about Syracuse.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Hold your horses.
Okay, go ahead.
So, we have been sending out emails from Pulsera. They are coming from Angie, who is our account person for success, to agency leaders to show them the platform and get them signed up so that when Syracuse goes live, they're not caught with their pants down going, oh, you want us to notify you this way? We've never heard of it. We have sent emails out. We had a session last week that Bob was on, Ken Gardner, and one person from St. Lawrence County. We've had the session before that South Jeff was the only Jefferson County.
So our agency is set up, but going to Syracuse, I have nothing to let me.
I will work
contact
with
my-
Susie
that-
to
I
get
didn't know if it
more
was still
information.
going. That was
Yes.
more than anything is it still going? And if it's going live, we've got 3 weeks to train an awful lot of folks who go to Syracuse a lot to use this. That's what
I
I'm
will
wondering.
say one thing that has been a bit of a hamper has been the communication between the regions.
In Central New York and.
Central New York, mid-state,
Yep.
Albany Med, Central region, like the Remo
Yep,
region,
yep.
into the North Country Mountain Lakes conglomerate that I get to deal with. There's been hiccups. We are trying to work through them as best we can. Really, my focus has been getting the hospitals on board so I can get the EMS on board eventually. One thing that I will say about our region is we are not mandating that Pulsera be the only tool. If a hospital system decides that that's what they want to utilize, that is on the hospital system, that is not the program agency's directive that this is your only tool. It is another tool in your toolbox as providers and as agencies and as facilities that you can utilize, and it's free for the base mode.
Are they mandating it for Central New York?
That was my
Yes.
question. Okay. That was gonna be my next question.
Central New York is the hospitals are saying that this is how they want it. For, the Remo region has mandated it. And I believe Mid-State has, just the hospital said, this is how you're doing it.
Is there a transition date for those that, down in that area, that
2 weeks from
say
now.
they're going to have 2 weeks? Is when they've got it.
First.
Wait, there's a difference between going live and saying you have to be compliant 100%.
They're going live November 1st. On my Pulsar app, I still have no way to send anything to upstate. Let's put it that way. That's what I'm looking for. I have the app, we have an account. How do I send a call? How do I send that data to a Syracuse hospital now that wants me to use Pulsar?
I will get you that
That's what I'm
answer.
wondering.
So maybe it's just not showing there yet, because they.
And maybe they're not like, maybe they're not, it's going live, but they're not.
They're gonna have a transition.
Right, and that could be too, so there is a rollout period, that's what, I don't know, I keep hearing November 1st are going live, but that's all we hear. And I don't really know what that means, so it's just a question, okay.
If your agency that you belong to has not seen anything about Pulsera, contact me tomorrow and I will get you set up.
It's very easy, it is a piece of cake to set up your agency, it's very, very simple.
It does
Almost as
cover-
simple as doing a survey on data.
So I say, send it out to the leadership, see where
I
you
mean,
get.
I'm serious, it took me, I don't think it took me 5 minutes to set up our agency, it was done, it was easy.
Yeah, but that's you.
It is learning and
Not
growing.
everybody is,
Tech savvy.
yeah, somebody else might be there 3 hours. Yeah.
It's a communication tool with no communication at this point. It's a communication.
I knew Mid-State was using it, but I didn't know that was their only means now, I didn't realize that either.
Yep,
They started don't head no fishing.
we're working on it and we're moving forward with it.
Okay, so we'll, check into that. Other new business?
None heard. I make the motion to close the meeting.
We have a motion to close the meeting. Do we have a second?
Looks like Mark's hand.
Mark's hand.
All we see is his hand. We see this part. That's all we see. Mark, second it. Raise your hand if you're in favor. Raise your hand if you're opposed.
I will rip your arm off.
Look at him, he's opposed.
Abstentions. Thank you, everybody.
Like the gays have it.
Nobody's